Hey everyone, Get Brocked here. I was just gonna do a quick video, kind of to let you guys know what's going on with the series right now. As you might have noticed, if you read the previous episode, I think it's 53, we're gonna put a temporary halt on the series with the Osiris in it. Some of the stuff we want to do, including speed mods and 4 or 5 plus people on a server simultaneously flying around in little fighters going real fast, doesn't really work with the way Space Engineers is right now. And trust me, we tried all the alternatives, new servers, different hosts, reducing the number of mods, and shit still doesn't work. And I don't mean doesn't work as in low sim speed, I mean people get glued to their seats and we have to restart the entire server, and then it just reoccurs in 5 minutes. So basically we spent somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 plus hours filming 5 minutes of footage. So it's just not working right now. So as I mentioned, we're going to do a quasi reboot. Not really a reboot, more of a prequel, kind of leading up to the events of where episode 1 starts. And that series is going to have a lot less mods, smaller ships, but it's still going to follow much the same format as you might be used to with the Osiris. We filmed episode 1 and episode 2, and I'm pretty proud of them. They look pretty good. I think you guys will enjoy them. We might potentially need one more person, but we're already having issues running, 4 people, like lag issues again. So we'll see how that goes. Right now we have 4 people. I'd like to have a 5th, but join the Discord and hit me up, and potentially we could make room for another. Alright, let's see. So, to give a little bit of closure to that series, since I'll probably rework the Osiris to make it reduce the mods and fix all of the timer blocks and stuff that got changed in one of the updates, I'll release the current Osiris to the workshop. Unfortunately, I'm a lazy shit, and this server has way too many mods, and I don't even know which ones are critical for Osiris's function anymore. So I'm just going to release the whole world file as of episode 53 to the workshop, which is what you're looking at right now. And I'll give you guys a little walkthrough of the ship. Just there's a lot of parts of the ship that you don't see in the series, and it'd be kind of cool to go around the ship, talk to you about it, maybe a little bit of behind the scenes or thought process behind how the ship got built. I don't have the Screen Gunk Be Gone mod on, so it's gonna be a lot of lens flare and bloom and crud on the monitor, but it is what it is. That's the direction Keen wants to go with their game. Alright, so this is obviously the bridge. Not much to say to it. If I had to pick 2 things on a ship that I put the most, or maybe 3 things I put the most effort into on a ship, it's build the bridge so it's big and completely functional. Build the hangar so it's huge, because I consider that the main, area of a ship where you hang out in, at least in Space Engineers, and then make the exterior of the ship look good. Everything else is secondary to that. Alright, so you guys have seen enough of the bridge. Don't need to spend any time there. Since I'm not the most entertaining guy, so to speak. I'll get some coffee. I'm not the most entertaining person. Just when I'm ad-libbing and talking like this, I'll probably sound quite dry. I'm only really going to cover the areas that don't get, heavily looked at in the series. And I'll mention a couple things on how to use the ship, since we did do a major rework in episode 52, 53. I don't know. I lose track of stuff. I'll go over a couple of those things, but I know you guys know most of the ship quite well, since the Osiris has been in this iteration in the series for 20 episodes. I don't know. A lot of episodes. So yeah, we got our captain's quarters and our crew quarters. You guys have seen that. We got our main area right here. This was, when I built this ship, I kind of wanted it to imitate the original Osiris in its structure. So if you guys remember, there's this corridor in the Osiris original. So in the mod 2 version 2, whatever you want to call it, this is still here, right? Because you want to maintain aspects of the old ship so it looks at least somewhat familiar. Although we did do a lot of changes. I think this area has only been seen once or twice in the series. This is our computer room where we house excess timer blocks that didn't fit in the CIC, shielding, hydrogen, and all kinds of stuff. And since it's accessible, we can come in here for repairs. Mentioning repairs, I guess that's a good point to mention the Osiris and some quote-unquote regrets or whatever I have with it. So originally, I build ships to, you know, drive the story, right? Because it's the whole point of the show, you know, to get places and to do stuff and to have quote-unquote emergent gameplay, right? Originally, the Osiris, even the other Osiris, the original version, was meant to be a light armored ship with no shielding, and it would rely on its 200mm cannons, which are quite long range when manually controlled, Vulcans for close-in weapon support or defense, and then cruise missiles to deal with targets at long range. It would not run shielding, right? Because it's exceptionally good at attacking at long range, and it has decent close-in weapons, so shielding would just make it overpowered. But we got lazy with the original version because, well, shit constantly explodes. So we went from having one shield generator just basically to deal with docking mishaps to having a lot more. And I was like, alright, that's alright, because it's a light armored ship, so once the shields drop, it gets destroyed. The Osiris version 2 is all heavy armor. And if you look inside, or look from the outside, literally everything is heavy armor. And in order to get, you know, a breach, you'd have to go through multiple layers of it. The bridge is obviously not exceptionally well defended because it's a giant glass ball, but then, you know, you got the CIC. Unfortunately, the problem with not using shielding in Space Engineers is that repairs take forever on armor. And specifically in this case, I wanted to make it heavy armor so you could rely on the heavy armor to defend itself. But very quickly in the, air quotes, battle simulations, we found that because of how stuff breaks in this game, where if a piece of armor warps and there's another full block next to it, so in this case, this cannon, and one of these armor blocks warps, which it does when it gets hit by a missile, it will just delete certain blocks like this cannon because it interferes with the hitbox. I believe it's called poofing. I don't know what it's called. And a big problem with that is turrets and stuff get deleted, which is, if that was the only problem, I would not have the Osiris run with shielding. However, we found that if any of the armor blocks surrounding the cells got warped, it would just instantaneously delete the Kratos engine. And that looks stupid because without the Kratos engine, there's just a giant gaping hole there. Not only that, the ship loses its main form of propulsion. So we kind of ended up in a situation where the Osiris version 2 is kind of overpowered. Which some people are like, no problem, you know? Get the most powerful ship you can, but that doesn't make for good storytelling because we can basically whoop anyone's ass if we try hard enough. The biggest damage the Osiris 2 has received is when we forgot to open the missile bays and blew up the side of the ship. And even that was minor damage, relatively speaking, considering we hit ourselves with somewhere in the neighborhood of, 20 plus missiles simultaneously. So that's a big regret kind of with the Osiris. It's too powerful, and it makes for storytelling a lot less interesting, right? Because the whole driver for storytelling, at least in Space Engineers, is you have problem, you must deal with problem. But if you can kill every problem, you don't get problems. So in the new series, I'm trying to rectify that with a ship that is much more balanced, so to speak, later. We have the Rompus Room. I did not name it that. I'm assuming Tic Tac named it that. It's the what is it called? The brig. And we've created, you can turn on the lights, but then when you put someone up there, you can have someone in there interrogating him while other people watch. And we've created this cool effect here. When you put two sheets of glass, one inverted that way and the other one inverted that way, it creates a quasi one-way glass system. With the change to how the armor blocks look and the lighting, you could see through it a little better. So that's kind of a shame, but, it still works. Unfortunately, we never really managed to do a scene where where we use the brig. I had a couple ideas going around. Obviously, we capture someone and interrogate them, but that just it never really worked with the series, especially since we never really did extras until right at the end. And then the other one was I'd have a bunch of real life players, real players, actually, pile in a Cerberus or something and attack the Osiris when her systems are down and she's just drifting, and then we'd fight through the ship you know, in crew close quarters combat, and eventually they'd take the Osiris and we'd get put in our own brig, and then we'd have to take the ship back. So maybe spoilers for future episodes, I don't know. But that never ended up materializing because just we had a lot of ideas, and certain episodes just don't work with the architecture of Space Engineers. You put 6 people on a server and shit goes to shit, as you know, you might as well imagine. Heading to the back of the ship, just this area that you've probably not really seen yet. We used to have oxygen and stuff back here, and this was actually connected to the bridge, or the hangar. But we only just recently reworked the Osiris to have that long hangar, which you'll see in a second. So this area is still empty. The world is our oyster, whatever. We can put what we want in here. Haven't really gotten around to it yet. Here is another case of my, I don't know how you call this, my eyes being too big for my stomach, so to speak, with mods. And I put a elevator in that does not play nice in multiplayer, but it looks fucking cool. So here it is, and it fits really well with the design. I may or may not rework the Osiris when we bring her back, when we reboot the series. But for now, I'm just going to leave everything in here as is. You can see the lighting has kind of fucked with how the lighting worked in the hangar, and everything is dark as shit. And the Prion looks like crap because apparently black does not look good on small ships anymore. But yeah, there's not much to say about this hangar. For all intents and purposes. Did I say that right? All intents and purposes, not intensive purposes. The hangar is basically the same. The only thing we did is open up the central bit, so now we can move ships along the inside of the ship without having going around the outside. And now we can access the central hangar from the back hangar, which is a really cool feature, and I really like how this turned out. I won't get too much into the hangar because you guys know how the hangar functions. It's just a hangar. I'll get quickly into how these F-45s work, because we don't really go into them in much detail, and they haven't been a part of the series for all that long. These are the main complement fighters for the Osiris now, to back her up. You get into it, you go to Control 1. These are your weapon systems, or stuff you use while fighting and flying. You got your Gatling gun, which does shit, jack all, basically. And then you got your missiles. These are tied to sound blocks, so you know when you can fire a missile again, right? You fire your missile, you can't just instantly fire another missile, so the sound block is tied to how long you have to wait till you can fire another missile. So you can fire missiles as fast as you want. In episode 53, we found that the sound blocks no longer worked properly, and they looped forever, so you'd press 2, you press 3, you'd use your flares on 4, and then you'd have 3 sound blocks simultaneously blaring off. So I don't know if they work right now. I believe they do, because in the new ship, all the sound blocks work. So, but be aware of that. So yeah, you got your missile block here, or your sidewinder here, and flares. You got your air brakes, so you could do maneuver turns. And that's it, basically, for your combat, quote-unquote, things. There should actually be a thing here that keeps getting deleted. I don't know why. What was it? Sentry. Here it is, bottom camera. And it's actually the, we'll bring the camera around. It's a camera that hasn't really been covered in the series that's nestled in this front section over here. And so when you're flying along, because this thing can glide exceptionally well and maintain its speed without dropping it, you can use a camera on the bottom to look around and go for targets. I actually just added the bar to a different F-45. Alright, that's the trouble when you merge ships together. You can drag the wrong thing down to your bar. Anyway. You go into here, you got your monitor for, instructions on how to fly the ship. It's kind of a pain in the ass because it's sideways because we didn't have any space. You got your 3, which turns on the ship, and your 4, which shuts off the ship. And that's in control block, or control section 2. Control section 3 is just hard points, and that's about it. Oh, and then 5 was to arm and disarm the missiles, but that is now handled with the shut off ship and shut down ship. So you shut down the ship, it de-arms all the missiles so we don't have friendly fire incidents, and you come in here and you turn on your sidewinders. Anyway, in order to detach the ship from its attachment point, if you're in atmosphere, because we're not in atmosphere right now, these ships don't do anything. They're atmosphere only. You would come in here, turn on the ship, boot up. Once you're fully booted up, you would turn on your dampeners, and then you slap the button next to the ship. And because this has got a mass block, it actually sinks a little bit. And there you go. You're detached. You can fly out and leave the hangar. Same applies to all of them. Hangar works. Once again, all the lighting is messed up with the new change. But there's 2 hard points. One right there that can take small ships. Right now, we only have an F-45 in here. You'd go inside, turn it on, disable the dampeners, and you can now launch from the central hangar while the ship is moving. You'd simply press this. It'll give you a warning, and then it will detach the ship. When you're in an atmosphere, it's much faster because that has multiple mass blocks on board to facilitate the quick detaching from the ship. So when you hear the solid tone, you will fall away from the ship, you'll get a cool Doppler effect, and then you'll be able to clear the fly out. Docking is as simple as you'd imagine. Just fly right up to it and attach. Yes, the timer resets itself, so you don't need to worry about that either. Well, alright, that's it. Look at the F-45 running away. That's it. I'm just going to upload the workshop file with basically just the Osiris on it. It's going to be a world file, so you can snag all the mods. I'll put a list in, so you can download the mods and put them in your own world. Fortunately, I'm not going to do a blueprint file because it's just too much of a pain. Because you basically have to download all the mods, and there's like 40 fucking mods. So we'll just leave it as a workshop file. If you want it, you can come in and blueprint it, download the mods that I'll list, and you'll be good to go. When I reboot the series, I'm probably going to strip the Osiris down and reduce as many of the mods as I can without changing, the design and heart of the ship. But for now, I'm not going to bother because my attention is really on putting out as many episodes of the prequel series. As I believe I mentioned, we've already finished episode 1 and 2, completely done, and we're working on 3. And once the people in it, the new crew members, get, jiving a little more, we'll be able to really pump out those episodes. Especially once we get past the pilot episodes, kind of story elements. So, as I said, up on the workshop, I'll put a link below. Hope you enjoy. I'm looking to put out at least 1 episode a week from here on out. So next week you'll likely see the trailer, and then the week after that, episodes. Assuming I do a trailer. I might not do a trailer, so next week, potentially, first episode of the new series. It'll be good. See you guys there.